Welcome back to The Weekend with Anthony Opperman. As you know, we always like to take a different spin with sports on this show. And since it's the holiday season, I was thinking about it and really thought that there was no better way to celebrate the holidays, and certainly our last show before the holidays, than talking about the Nutcracker and the Nutcracker Ballet. And again, I was thinking about it, and I was really caught up in the fact that, ballet dancers put in so much time and effort in terms of maintaining their bodies and the amount of physical activity that it takes to be a dancer, and really the athleticism, quite frankly, that it takes to be a dancer, that kind of wanted to talk about it. And fortunately in Richmond, we've got the Richmond Ballet, and with the Nutcracker opening last night, thought it would be appropriate to speak with someone from the Richmond Ballet, and happy to be joined now here on The Weekend by Phil Skaggs, who's a member of the cast of the Nutcracker. Phil, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for having me on your show, and also thank you for bringing light to dance and kind of showing that we are athletes as well as other sports teams.
Now, you especially were an athlete growing up. You played football and basketball, right?
Yeah, I did. I played football and basketball in high school, and sort of just transitioned into the ballet world later in my life.
So when you were playing football, basketball, what were your positions?
Football, I played wide receiver, and basketball, I was forward, sometimes point guard.
Now, obviously, the natural question is, how did you go from being a wide receiver in football, point guard in basketball, to becoming a ballet dancer?
Well, it sort of was an interesting story. The school that I went to was a performing arts high school, and in the high school, we had a football team and basketball and everything, but also there were, there was a dance program there, and there weren't many guys in the dance program, and our football team was lousy. Is the best way to say it. And the coach from the basketball team and the coach from the ballet school decided to sort of do a swap, where they brought the guys over to dance with the girls and lift them and hold them and do all those things, and and the coach hoped for the football team hoped that we would get stronger and faster and all the more flexible. So it sort of was a mash of two worlds that sort of came together, and somehow I fell in love with the art of dance, and fell in love with the physicality of it, and just the difficulty of it sort of struck me at first as something that I really sort of latched on to.
Well, before we talk more about dance, I want to go back just 1 second to something you said. Mm-hmm. That the football coach thought this was a way to make everybody stronger and more athletic. Did it work?
It did to some degree. It did. I think with ballet, you definitely need time. It's one of those things that doesn't happen overnight, and that was one of the things that I actually did fall in love with. For me, I was a natural athlete growing up, and so catching a ball and running and throwing a ball seemed easy to me. And when I got into the ballet world, I immediately felt like I couldn't, I was just totally out of my element, and everything that they showed me and everything I tried was almost impossible. And I sort of latched onto that somehow. I remember they put me in a class with 8-year-olds. And here it is, I'm a 6'2" guy standing next to 8-year-olds, learning ballet technique. And I just remember it was so humbling and so difficult to have these little 8-year-olds sort of handing it to me. But at the same time, it was just the challenge for me was so great that I couldn't back down from it.
Again, joined by Phil Skaggs, member of the Richmond Ballet Company and also the cast of the Nutcracker. And Phil, just tell me a little bit about what goes into being a dancer, the amount of time that you guys spend rehearsing, and then additionally the workouts and stuff that you guys have to do to maintain your body.
Our typical schedule is we work about 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. We come in anywhere between like 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning, kind of stretch out, warm up. We do an hour-and-a-half warm-up class, which starts with your feet all the way up to your eyes. I mean, we warm up everything and sort of strengthen everything in an order so that we're able to perform. And then we spend the rest of the day rehearsing different ballets. Sometimes we have as many as 5 different ballets sort of circulating during the day. So I'll have 1 hour working on maybe a more contemporary piece, and then 1 hour working on a classical piece, and sometimes we'll even throw in some modern, and there's always something different happening.
What's the most difficult part of it, and especially with your transition from being an athlete to becoming a dancer? What did you find to be the most challenging aspect of that?
I think just the technical aspect of it was the hardest. I mean, when in sports, like I said, if you're catching the ball and running, your goal is to get to the finish line. In ballet, there is a finish line, but you have to make it look good. So your legs have to be turned out, your feet have to be pointed, there has to be a smile on your face, making it look effortless. And I think sometimes that tends to be the hardest, because you are lifting another human body, or you're trying to jump over the moon, and you can't grunt, and you can't, you're constantly running into the wings, wiping off sweat, drinking water, trying to get back out there. I think it would be hysterical for people actually to see what happens in the wings after you leave stage, because the audience sees effortless dancers on stage looking pretty, smiling. But the second you cross that threshold into the wing, people are panting, wiping sweat off, rolling on the ground, trying to, massage out their calves. So it's interesting seeing what happens once you cross that threshold. And then 5 minutes later, you got to turn back around and you're on stage again. And you have to leave all that in the wings, leave it behind.
Joined by Phil Skaggs, member of the Richmond Ballet Company. And Phil, how much time do you spend in the gym? Are the workouts and all of the different rehearsals enough to keep you in shape, or do you have to put in additional time in the gym as well?
Yes and no. When I first started training to be a ballet dancer, I hit the gym every morning. I'd go in and lift weights and sort of try to strengthen my body. Now that I'm at a professional level, dancing 8 hours a day, lifting girls all day, it's sort of, you create your own strength. If I counted how many times, I were to lift one girl in one day, it would probably be a pretty amazing number. I know just in the snow pas de deux alone, which you'll see in our dress rehearsal tonight, I lift my partner 22 times in one scene. So there's a lot of repetitive lifting. So I think more for us, our workouts tends to be a lot more maintenance style, like Pilates. A lot of dancers take Pilates. A lot of us do the executive workout, hot tub sauna, just to sort of try to keep our bodies more maintained in the sense of strength and lengthening the muscles more than sort of bulking up.
Well, and that even goes down to having to ice your knees and back and everything else, just like baseball players and pitchers, everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. We really have to try to take care of our bodies. Lots of ice at night, Advil, occasional glass of wine will also do the trick. So, we really have to take care of our bodies. They are instruments that we use.
Joined by Phil Skaggs from the Richmond Ballet. And Phil, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if the lure of being able to lift girls 22 times, did that have a little bit of appeal in getting into ballet?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's no secret that my wife is a ballet dancer. I met her at the Richmond Ballet. We actually have a funny story. She was in Richmond Ballet for 2 years before I got here, so we met in the company, and she was rehearsing a duet with another guy. And, immediately when we met, there was that sort of chemistry there, but we didn't really cross lines yet. And her partner got injured, and I happened to know the part.
Lucky for you.
And stepped in and, sort of saved the day, swept her off her feet, all of that, magical, fairy tale stuff that happens in relationships. And, and that's how I met my wife. We sort of fell in love after that, and we've been married for 7 years and just had a baby who's now 5 months old. So, it's been it definitely played a huge part. The locker room at the ballet is a lot more interesting, I think, than the locker room in the football field or the baseball field. It's a different dynamic. I like it.
Joined by Phil Skaggs from the Richmond Ballet. And Phil, how long have you been with the Richmond Ballet now?
I've been with the Richmond Ballet for 13 years now.
And obviously the Nutcracker has already opened.
Yes, the show opens Friday night, the 16th, and we run through the 26th of December. So we'll actually be performing after Christmas.
When fans come out to see the show, where will they be able to spot you? Obviously there's no one set role, but numerous places, right?
Well, on any given night, you could find me doing, first act, you'll find me doing Clara's father, Dr. Silverhouse. If I'm doing Dr. Silverhouse, you immediately see me swap into the Rat King costume and do some little comedy on stage. And then for second act, you will see me doing either the Arabian Snake Charmer or the Cavalier, with Dancing with the Sugar Plum.
Now, 13 years, I guess, has gone by pretty quick. Seems like you guys still have a lot of fun doing this.
Oh, I love it. It's the best job in the world, other than maybe your job.
You're joined by Phil Skaggs from the Richmond Ballet. Phil, definitely appreciate you taking the time. Again, I've had the fortune of seeing the Nutcracker a couple of times in different cities, and every time you see a ballet, whether it's the Nutcracker or any other show, I think you automatically have to be amazed and impressed with the athleticism and like what you mentioned, the effortless athleticism on stage to make everything seem so fluid and seamless. And definitely appreciate you taking the time to discuss that with us this morning. And best of luck with the run of the show, and hopefully many more great years to come in the Richmond Ballet.
Great. Thank you for having me on the show. And I believe it's 10 minutes till places, so I've got to run.
Again, that's Phil Skaggs with the Richmond Ballet. We're going to switch directions completely when we come back. We'll have our weekly wildlife chat with Chris Donovan from the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. That and more coming up here on The Weekend.
The Weekend with Anthony Opperman continues next on Sports Radio 910.